Welcome to Quantum Alchemist Master Podcast. In this space, we share our journey in the awakening and integration process without judgment, building an all-inclusive community of awareness, love, support, and full acceptance. Reminding you that you are the master, you are the healer, you are the medicine, you are a divine, infinite, multidimensional being. You are source in human form. We all are. Everything you seek outside of you is inside, inviting you to go within so that you remember who you really are. Step into your true potential, create your own reality, and contribute to the reality of the collective. The change starts with you. We're all one, and love is the answer. Good morning, Melinda. I'm glad you were able to join us. Welcome to the Awaken Integration community here. We're very glad to have you. So I am very excited, first of all, because I had a very interesting session with you before I invited you over. So I'm sure we'll dig into that. But tell us a little bit about your journey. The reason for the podcast is to kind of put out there how people go through the integration process, the awakening process, increased consciousness process. We all go through a different process and we all have different experiences. And I feel the more we can share, we can relate to other people. It's just going to be better for everybody to know they're not alone in the process. There's more of us out there going through the same thing, something they can relate. So tell us a little bit about you and how your process has been.
Yeah, you know what? I am just so dazzled by the fact you're doing this podcast. I love the theme and the topic, and I do think it's really important because, right now in the world of social media, there's so much comparison. And as a coach myself, I see other coaches online promoting different things, and it kind of leads people down this path that it can happen like immediately, right? Like you can read this book or you can take this course or you can do this or you can do that. And all of a sudden, like all this magic's going to happen and you're going to be awakened and going to make millions. And it doesn't fucking work like that. So when I was like, oh my God, I just love this so much. And you're just doing the right thing by sharing these messages. So I want to start off by saying I'm almost 52. So I'm just giving this shout out of love to anyone out there that from both aspects, right? So if you're older and you're on this journey, or if you're younger on this journey and you are getting overwhelmed by social media, like it's just really important to take your time and realize that we're all on different paths and it's okay. And to take your time with everything and just do like a little bit of something each day and you'll get there and just trust the process. So I would say that I knew that something was percolating within me when I was a kid, as most people do. And I called it sights and sounds. And I literally called it sights and sounds. And what it was tunes in my ears, like the constantly tunes. And those have recently come back in the last maybe 3 to 4 years. And now I'm okay with it because now I understand. And also sights. And it wasn't even that I would see things. It was more of like when I closed my eyes, now I can relate it to like dimensions and fields. But I think as a kid, I didn't know. And I finally got really angry as a kid. And I was probably in like grade school. I'm trying to remember, it was like 6th grade, 7th grade, something like that. And I finally was like, leave me alone. And I shut it down because that's how you shut things down is with the energy of like, stop. And it stopped. And then my journey then I would say probably picked up more in my 20s when I just started realizing that I had a knowing, like I always knew things. I was like, well, how do I know that? Or how did that happen 6 months later? Like it just was like these things. And again, because I'm older, all of this happened before the internet, before YouTube, before like we had podcasting at the level that it's at. So I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't really read books. I didn't know much, but I just knew inside, like I kind of could tell like about people and things happening and what was the right thing to do or what was the wrong thing to do. One of the things was, when the recession was coming, I knew we were going to have a recession, like just things. And so in my mid 30s, I probably really started to trust that I knew, like for a bigger piece of like an ascension. Like I was like, I really do feel like I know something. So that took years of me, like kind of a trial and error. Like, am I crazy? Did I make that up? Like those thoughts that going through your head. And then I would say, in my mid 40s, I really started to buckle down on the process. I really started to go, oh my gosh, like there is more out here. Obviously, the internet then played a big part, people then talking more, me finding different teachers here and there that I'd follow for a little bit and then move on from, and just really started to, put things together. And over time, through just various things, whether it's experiences happening to me or picking up a little bit of information here or there. I've just really worked on, my gifts, my clairs, for the most part, all of them. I would say I'm pretty much definitely claircognizant is like number one still, but other things have opened up too. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's super fun. And now with Ahai, it's just like, whoo. So it's really, really fun and just fun to help other people too.
Okay, so
So
since
yeah.
you mentioned that, can you expand a little bit? Because I got to experience a session and I was going through a really rough week that week, and I felt the difference right away, like immediately. I know we say this is not a process of like quick fixes, and it takes years because we're constantly evolving, constantly going through different processes. But really, when you're having a bad day and you do a session and right after you feel like something's been lifted and you feel really amazing, you can't deny that, right? So before and after the session. So could you expand a little bit about what that is for people that I had never heard of it when you first mentioned it. So could you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more?
Yeah, no, and I'm so glad. I'm so like that just makes me so happy that this journey is helping so many people, not only just me, but other people too. So I am a certified Ahai 7 dimensional energy practitioner and healer. I like the word practitioner because I'm a business person at heart. Like I spent 16 years in the corporate world, 12 years as a sales rep, and my husband and I own a small business. So I like practitioner because to me, it's a little more holistic. So in my sessions, I do clearing, healing, and amplifying, right? But just to back up, most people understand, especially if they're watching this podcast, energy. A lot of people have heard of Reiki, and that's probably the most similar thing. However, it's definitely different. And what ended up happening, I would say this journey started in 2020. I was working with a psychic coach who's not even on the grid. Like I heard of her through someone and called her because I was feeling very stuck in my business, right? So most people talk about being stuck. I've been stuck. I get it. And I called her and we had this great conversation. And she said to me, she's like, you are going to be an energy mentor coach. She goes, you're going to be just like me. And I was like, okay. But I kind of understood it. Like it felt good to me. Right. And she was really sweet. She's like, this isn't coming from like ego. She goes, I just really feel that you're like me, just 10 years behind me. Right. And that's how so much coaching and mentoring is, right? You end up picking a coach or a mentor who's just like a little bit behind you. So you get a little bit, somewhere faster. But she said, you have a lot of sadness around you. And I was like, what's she talking about? I'm really positive. Like, what's she talking about? And then I started to cry. And I was like, wow, that just hit home. And it really just opened up for me. I have the chills right now. The fact that I needed to do some healing because as a super like aggressive business person who's like really organized, I'm an Aries, I'm a human design generator, like I get it done. I had like suppressed emotions and feelings and all the shit that has happened to me, just like lots of people have. We all have lots of shit over the years. And it just had created like an aura of sadness. So I just started on a journey and I was extremely, extremely diligent every day to work on clearing my sadness. And it was mostly self-led. Like she gave me a couple tools, but it really was self-led, a lot of meditation. And I would say it took about a year, and I called her back and she was like, I'm so proud of you. She's like, I can feel your sadness has definitely lifted. And I looked different, like everything. Like I looked different, like I felt different. My relationships shifted. It was crazy. It was just this whole like crazy thing. And yeah, so that was like a huge piece of my journey as far as becoming really interested in Ahai. So then I started really implementing energy work intuitively with my clients and with myself. Like I read the Healing Codes, which is a great book. You can just watch a YouTube video and you'll understand it. So that was good. So I kind of started picking up on like little tools here and there. And then I had joined a really big business consulting company last year in the spring. And that was a whole journey. That's a whole podcast and a whole book, actually. But what I realized within that company is that their energetics as a business was like completely janky. It was like, what are you guys doing? Like it was crazy. And they don't see it, but I could see it. And so I was really confused and didn't know what to do because I'd signed a contract and I was really struggling internally. Like just, I felt off balance and just kind of like not right. I knew something wasn't right. And I ended up going on a platform, Scribe, to just look for this book. And I ended up stumbling upon Christina Rice. And she's a psychic channel. And she is who had Ahai. She had it downloaded to her in August of 2020. So now, once a year, she opens her cart to teach Ahai and do the attunement process and certification and really teach you a lot of, just things like, and it's nice to have support too, but just things like, forms and different things like legally, right? Like that are good to know as a business owner. So Ahai is just a really powerful energy. And when I have a session with someone, I'm just the channel. I'm the conduit. So I mix, obviously what I've learned as an energy healer on my own, and then obviously what I've learned through getting certified with her program, if you want to call it, to give just a really amazing experience to everyone. So Ahai is just an energy that amplifies your own energy, right? So it's really just we all have these things within us. And isn't it nice to get a little boost? Like I'll take a boost every day. So that's really all it is in simple form. So people come to me with intentions. You had a couple intentions. And during our session, which the actual energy session is about 20 minutes long, I just really focus on clearing and healing and amplifying whatever your intention is. And it ends up, it's been amazing, the results with everybody, and everybody's results are so different. It ends up helping in all these other ways too, right? Because it's just energy. So it might go to something else that you needed that maybe you didn't really even realize. And it's just really magical. It's just fun and magical and just leads to, success. And that just lights me up. I'm on fire right now. It just really lights me up that other people can, realize that they have the power within them to achieve whatever they want, whether it's just feeling better, whether it's something actually hurts, or they want to amplify their business, or be able to have a better relationship. There's just so many things, and the list of things that I work on personally is huge. So I know that if you have a list too, you're not, it's all good. Like it's all a journey, and the Ahai just kind of helps the process along. So,
I look up to you. I feel like, you're I'm kind of in the same journey, a little bit different. Of course, we all experience different things, but still kind of, just working with, our gifts, our abilities. Just one of the main things that I wanted to touch on was to emphasize that people, they have the answers within, right? Or at least I feel we do, because I've looked for a lot of answers outside in my own experience, and I have not found many that have been reliable. So, when I did go within, for however you do it, right? Whether it's breath work or any other energy or, whatever plant medicine, anything like that, that helps you, meditation, anything that helps you go within, there's a whole nother world to be discovered, right? It's an endless, infinite possibilities in there that I never knew. I'm Hispanic. We're never really taught about that. It's like a subject that's not talked about. So I just love how you put it out there, how you emphasize that go within, go within. There's a lot within there to teach us. Have you ever sat with plant medicine or any other medicine, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know, because that's actually how you and I ended up chatting. I have never. I have no, like, it's kind of when you're in that space of like, if you choose to do it, like, I think that's cool, like, do it. It hasn't been something for me that I feel called to. I can imagine that I may just do it someday because the opportunity is like easy, convenient, and I'm curious. But yeah,
Yeah.
I watched that documentary. What's that gentleman? Has a big place, I think, in Costa Rica, maybe.
Is it
I've
Aubrey Marcus?
been so long. I mean, it was kind of when it first started getting like talked about.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary. I've listened to a couple different podcasts. I get the gist. Um, but yeah, I never have. So
Okay. Yeah, so I always touch on that.
mhm.
One, because you never know who's done it, right? And
Yeah,
two,
it's a great
just to
question.
keep an open mind, right, of all the different ways that can get you to the same point, which is going within, looking for the answers within you. They're already there. These are just channels, right? Like you're saying, like a conduit, like just a door, if you would
Mhm.
say, right? Have you ever had any like near-death experiences, or I don't want to say supernatural, but like, or any other experiences that you're like, or seen anything in particular, or been able to speak with archangels, or just anything you want to mention that it's not the usual that we talk about?
Yeah, and oh my God, where do we start with that? I have had a lot. Let's see, what can I say? As far as near death, I would say, and I didn't even recognize it at the time, but it's amazing that I didn't die. So, I was driving. This is when I lived in Ohio, so quite a while ago. So again, before like you would think about stuff like that. I was completely pummeled by a semi and I couldn't, like, I saw it coming. I watched it in the rear view mirror. I couldn't do anything. There was an accident on the other side. There were chickens flying everywhere. We were on a bridge over a ravine. Like, it's truly like crazy that my car didn't go over the side. And there was a car in front of me, cars on the side. Like, I couldn't go anywhere. Like, all I could do was sit and watch this big green semi who wasn't paying attention because he was watching the chickens, pummel me, like literally pummeled me. And between my car and my teeth, that's what took the impact. And I could walk away. It was truly like amazing. So when you have things like that and you're really like technically I should have died, like you just know it's not your time. Like, so to me, that's like just not your time. I had this really cool experience. If you want, I can give you the link because I've written about it on Medium, and then I was on his YouTube about it. So I went to a metaphysical event in August of 2021, and we did the Close Encounters, CE5, and called in a craft and I channeled an alien. I turned green, which
That's
was
so
like a
cool.
yeah, which is a really cool experience. And someone got it on picture, so there's literally a picture of me that I'm green. And I was very intentional about the process. So I always saw orbs, but I didn't know what they were really until I went to this event. I was like, oh yeah. And now I see fairies. And so because I had the belief about the orbs, like I was like, oh, I get it. Now I see what this is. And I learned. I went to the evening event with the intention of, it just came to me to send love and light, to really like be so strong in my love that I wanted to see what I could pull through. So before the actual like calling started, I was taking pictures in the trees and I saw all sorts of like orbs and rods and a fairy. And so I was like, okay, they're here. We're good, right? I'm tuned in, I'm tapped in, we're good. So I sat with my crystals. I brought crystals just on my own, brought crystals with me. And I sat and I just like I've meditated so much over the years that I can like zap in a second, right? So I got in the zone and I just was like talking to them. I was like, we love you. We're good people. Please show yourself. Please come. We love you. And I just sat and like intentionally held my crystals and like 100% focused. And yeah, this girl got up randomly and saw me and took a picture. And she's like, and then ends up the guy next to me, he was channeling too, and he had a weird experience. So it was like a connection. So yeah, it's all on the YouTube video. So in terms of the interview, but
Oh
it's
my
pretty fascinating.
God. You got to share that with us so we can add it to the description. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really like that was really cool. And then I had I've had many dark afternoons or nights of the soul. And one of them was in October 2019. And I was at my husband's family's condo and I had a speaking event during the day and it didn't go great. It was one of my first big speaking events. And to be honest, it didn't go great. That's a whole other journey being a speaker. And and then I had called my coach afterwards, who it was a horrible experience, and I fired her immediately. So there's good coaches and bad coaches, and I learned from that, and it was horrible, like horrible. And I cried and I prayed, and I was just having that one of those total meltdowns. And I opened my eyes and I saw Archangel Michael. And then I got scared because, then I shut down the energy and, he went away, but I still have the chills. That was pretty cool. So,
I
and I
actually
can
have
still,
chills
like, I
right
could
now.
draw him if I needed to. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just got chills when you said that. I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're so openly talking about all these taboo subjects, right? Um, Even from the ship, the aliens, whatever, fairies, all these things that, you know, like believing in magic, right? You hear that all the time, but until you actually experience it for yourself, I feel you really don't have a grasp as to all that there is, right? All the infinite possibilities, and we all experience and see different things, which is pretty amazing. That's why one of the main reasons of the podcast also is to share that and not, because we all experience stuff and then we kind of, I don't want to say hide it, but we don't really talk about it or we don't really share it for more people to hear that that's okay. We also
Mhm.
see it, we also hear it, we're also going through kind of the same process in different ways. And like you mentioned, the dark night of the soul, same thing. It's not all lights and rainbows, right? And butterflies, right? There's processes for everything that we have to go through. We have to a lot of integration, right? After like Archangel Michael, right? When you have to have time to integrate all of these experiences to be able to come out on the other side, okay, functional, right?
Mhm.
So what are some tools that have served you to, going through ego death, dark night of the souls, and all these kinds of things? Any
Well, I want to,
particular?
yeah. Well, I want to say too, and you can tell me if you've had this experience because I'm always open for like more conversation. I don't want to have to feel like you shouldn't have to feel like I'm open to what you have to say too. But don't you feel that after a dark night of the soul, like good things happen, like because the energy shifts, right?
Yes, I think in my own personal opinion, at least what I had to do is I had to go through the darkness. I
Mhm.
could not escape it. It's very real. When you're going through that process, it's like you hit rock bottom, right? And to me, doing anything that puts a band-aid on it, I knew was not going to solve the problem. So I knew I had to be brave enough to go through it. I could not, you know, try to do anything else. A distraction was not going to solve the problem. So that's kind of how I face everything now, even if it's a fear or anything I have. I just go through it, if it goes well or not, doesn't matter. I learned from it, you know. you become a better person through this process, right?
Right.
So
You are 100% correct. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. And that's such an important message. So thank you for sharing, because don't, it's easy to say this, but it's like, if you don't have so much fear around it, you just go through it. Like I honestly, and I'm saying this jokingly, right? So take this with my sarcastic grain of salt, because I'm a little sarcastic. But it's like, gosh, it'd be great to go through dark nights of the soul like a lot, because then all this shit just shifts faster, right? Because
that's
it's
true.
crazy, like the magic that happens after you like completely like, just
Yeah,
crush it and move through those energies. It's
yeah,
nuts.
it's really amazing.
So yeah. So if you're having a breakdown, just my message to your audience, if you're having a breakdown, a dark night of the soul, you will survive. You'll come out with like some rainbow. It'll be amazing. I promise
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on like oneness, consciousness, just awareness in general, or anything along those lines, source, anything like that that you feel called to share with us.
Mhm. Yeah, I think consciousness is such an important aspect in reality, and a lot of people don't even know what that word means. It means that you're just like awake, like you're paying attention to what you're doing, like you're paying attention to what you're feeling, you're paying attention to what you're saying, like, and having conscious awareness. Like it sounds such like a daunting thing, but it's not. It's just so crucial. And unfortunately, we all see this, and I have done this too. And I'll give an example from yesterday, actually, that I'm probably going to use in a post. Um, we're so busy, we go on this autopilot, gotta get up, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. And then you go, like, you're not aware of like how you behaved, or what did you say, or how are you feeling? So did you have some intention? Did you have gratitude? Like that's all in that bucket, right? So when you're just consciously aware throughout your day of like, okay, I made this coffee and it's really good and I love it, versus like just drinking my coffee and jumping in the car. Like that's a huge part of, having things manifest or just feeling good. I mean, that's really all we're doing, really, is in that being. So I think it's really important. And like yesterday, I went to the Renaissance Festival in Deerfield. Have you been to that?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was so fun. And this man was sitting there with yarn. I think his name was Amadeus. I might be a little off on the name. I apologize, but he was very cool. And he had yarn, and you could just come take a piece of yarn, and it was a wishing web, WEB. And everyone had all this yarn all over the trees. Yeah, I'm going to post about it on Instagram because I took a little video. And you could have this is just a great example. Like you could have just taken the yarn, right? And just slapped it on the tree and said, I wish for $1 million, right? But that's not being really consciously aware, right? Because you're not dialed in to your emotion. You're not taking a breath, however you want to have your process. But I was like, oh, cool. So I stood there for a few minutes. I asked him his name. I sent him blessings. I sent my friend Charlotte, who was with me, blessings. And, I just really made an intentional, like peaceful moment about the experience instead of just like slapping it on the tree and going to the next booth. Right. So that's just a piece of it. And when you really live from that place, that then envelops that we are all one, right? We are all connected and energetically connected. So
I agree. So I always
just a
say that
subset.
we are either consciously or unconsciously constantly making choices every second, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you aware of who is thinking, right? Who is aware of your thoughts? Who is aware of your actions? Are you co-creating by the thoughts and actions that you're taking? And where is that leading you? Is that aligned with your soul's plan, mission? Is that something that resonates with you? Are you stopping for a moment, right? Like like you're saying, we live very fast with a lot of to-do list in our day to day that we rarely become aware, but that is so important to emphasize for everybody.
And I
So
love how you brought in the other people, because that's what so much of the challenges with relationships, right? You're not like taking into account your partner and how are they feeling? Are they thinking? So yeah, you just dialed it in with the other person perfectly.
thank you
So
so much. Is there any like one main message or anything else you want to expand on? Either from what you're doing or just in general, that you want to kind of leave the audience with, kind of meditate about?
yeah, you know what? Just be nice to yourself. I mean, really. Really, there's so many people out there that are hurting, they're unhappy, they don't love themselves, they think they need to be perfect. Oh gosh. Uh, yeah, just be nice to yourself.
Thank you for sharing that. I actually think forgiveness for yourself and
Mhm.
forgiveness to others. I
Yeah.
think from there we can just start a new path in the
Hmm.
world overall, right? Not only in our lives. It's like a ripple effect, right? You
Yeah.
forgive, even it doesn't matter the harm. I know there's horrible harms out there that people could do to other human beings, unfortunately, but you're
Hmm.
forgiving them and yourself for you, right? So that you can let go of all that heaviness on your shoulders, on your heart, right? All of those
Hmm.
emotions you're holding in, and that's holding you back from stepping into your true potential. So I feel
Yeah.
forgiveness is so important because if you forgive yourself and you forgive someone else, you can go to the next chapter, go vibrate a little different and be more aligned with the vibration of love, which to me is one of the biggest things that there is, if not the biggest, right? Because that
Hmm.
encompasses so much more than just love itself. So thank
Yeah.
you for that forgiveness. I'm actually gonna give them a forgiveness prayer that I do. Um,
Oh yeah. And can
yeah.
I add one thing on to what you're saying? Because
Mhm.
I completely agree with you. Something I learned and embodied years ago is really understanding that the universe loves everybody, right? So it doesn't do us any favors to not forgive the other person, because it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you go farther, faster. It's not going to help anything. And that's why, some people get upset on this topic. I know it's a sensitive topic, but I'm just bringing up as an example for context, is when people, if someone is in prison and, they did a horrible crime, like I said, that I get it. But at the same time, yeah, holding that grudge doesn't serve your energy to do that. So yes, that element of forgiveness, because the universe forgives
And I
everybody.
feel
Everybody's loved.
like a lot of what we hold on to could manifest in illness, physical illness, because we're holding all of that for years, right? And I've been through it. I include myself in this. It's been a learning process for me. We all, whatever you think is a mistake, really, it's just part of the plan, right? We're learning and we're growing from that, and it's just a whole learning process that's a little bit more complex than just explaining it on the podcast, but little by little, with awareness, with love, with forgiveness, the path gets a little bit easier to handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Yep.
navigate. So thank
Yeah,
you for that.
totally.
And thank you for sharing that book you mentioned. I'm actually going to look it up. Is there any other book or resources that you recommend?
Yeah, so I want to see this first though. And this came to me this morning when I woke up, which is normally when I have like downloads fast. And I made this mistake. So I'm talking from my 3-5 in human design. Every time I would hear a book that, let's say, another teacher would recommend, I'd go buy the book, right? Because I thought the book was gonna like, right? And it doesn't work like that. So at the end of the day, years later, I had all these books, and half of them were tools that, I had moved past. So I didn't really even need them, right? Because we're all in a different journey. So circling back to the beginning, right? So I'm more than happy to give suggestions, but I always give them now with a grain of salt, that listen to yourself first. Don't think that, oh my God, just because Melinda listens to like Abraham Hicks and has those books, because I would recommend those, like that's going to, change my life and, going to be the next, big superstar or whatever, we're just all on a journey. So,
Thank you.
but The Healing Codes is a great book.
Thank you so much for listening. For more, follow us on Instagram at Quantum Alchemist Master.